welcome back everybody. So today we're going to be talking about CDL school or driving academy, whatever you want to call it. Kind of sticking within the theme of this channel. It's about, me entering the industry as a new driver. I've talked about, a lot of the rookie experiences, but the most important part of that, or the first part of that for sure, is driving academy. So I'm gonna be talking about my experience, what you may experience, some things to look out for, and just general knowledge that could maybe be super useful to somebody. So let's get straight into it. All right, so I went to 160 Driving Academy in Orlando. The tuition was about $4,500, which was $500 less than it's usually. So I paid my tuition in full. I didn't do any payments or anything like that. I basically just saved up and then paid outright. Now there's a couple different ways, and this is universal with all driving academies. Most of them do accept monthly payments, monthly installments. Either they can do it in-house or they could do it through a third party, meaning like they're going to run your credit. A third party organization is going to run your credit, and they'll pay out the loan. They'll pay out the tuition to the school, and then you just pay through them. So, or you can be sponsored by like if you already work for a company, Amazon, FedEx, they could sponsor you. They'll pay for your tuition as long as you pass. And, obviously you're gonna have to continue working for them. Now there's a lot of stipulations, but it all comes down to the specifics. So you gotta be careful. You gotta know exactly what you're getting into, because let's say that you're going to an academy for a mega carrier, Swift, for example, JB Hunt. A lot of them will have basically a contract where you have to work for that company for a year, and you're going to be paying out. You're still going to be paying your tuition, but it's going to come out of your monthly or your weekly checks. But that's not even. That's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue in that, if you don't do your research. Now, obviously, if you know exactly what you're getting into, it's not really a problem. But let's just say you kind of do it blindly. You may not like the company. That's obviously going to be the biggest thing. Assuming you've never had a CMV driving job before, you don't really know what makes a good company or a bad company. You're getting yourself into a situation where you're going to have to be forced to work for a company for the foreseeable future, 1 year, 2 years, and you don't know exactly what you're going to be getting into, right? So that's for kind of like the driving companies, the carriers that have their own academies. But also there was a situation in my driving, my academy. There was a guy that he was telling us basically, he was getting sponsored, right? So they were paying for his tuition, and also he was getting paid to go to school, which is great. But if he didn't pass his test, he got fired. I thought that was crazy. Everybody else thought that was fair. I guess it does make sense, but make sure. I'm just saying, make sure you know the details before going into something, because you might just be really, really bad at backing. You know what I'm saying? You just can't get it within the first 3 tries, which is crazy, but it happens. Sometimes it's just some people are better than others, even beginners. There's always that kind of learning curve. So that's just take into consideration if you're not paying completely out of pocket. If you're going through one of these alternative routes, just ask a lot of questions, just so you know what I'm saying. So that's going to be the first part of it. Okay, so I'm going to try to make this more of like a general overview of academy and not just my experience for the academy, because I know most of y'all won't go to 160 Driving Academy, but they're pretty much all the same as far as the curriculum goes. Okay, so there's going to be 3 areas in which you're going to be practicing and then eventually going to be testing out in. All right, so the first one is going to be basically the written test, which is your pre-trip inspection. Your pre-trip inspection. Okay, so that's going to be taking up a lot of time in the beginning. You're going to be learning about the truck and how to run an inspection on the truck. Now that can vary. So I guess apparently now in 2025, the pre-trip inspection portion of the test is a lot easier than it used to be. I still felt like we had a thick packet that we had to basically study up on. And it's that's usually done at the beginning, right? So, and then the second thing outside of that is going to be your road test, or the road portion of your training is learning how to drive on the road. Because obviously it's different than a car. So you have to learn how to shift lanes, how to turn, the proper ways to approach the red light, just everything done with that goes into that. And also, you're going to have the choice to do it in manual or manual or automatic transmission. My suggestion is, and what I did, I took it in manual, just because you never know. Most of these big fleets, obviously they're all automatic, but you never know, you might have like a little mom and pop company that you apply for, and if you don't know how to drive manual and that's all they got, then you can't. You know what I'm saying? So I would just say get it just to have it, but let's keep that in mind. So what was the third one? Oh yeah, and the third one is going to be the maneuvering. So the maneuvering, it could vary what types of maneuvers are going to make you do. Alley docking, which is like the most important thing, they don't do that anymore. I don't know why. And apparently they said it's not just my academy that I went to, it's kind of like a national thing. They don't teach alley docking anymore, which is crazy, because that's what you're going to be doing at the truck stops. Even though it's not docking, you like the maneuver is still the same. And then obviously at your shippers, so yeah, that was crazy to me once I figured that out. But what they did have us do was an offset, and I'll throw up a picture on what the offset looks like right here. And it's not that hard looking back on it. I was just really, really bad, so like it kind of took me for a little bit of a crazy ride. But those are the three primary areas of focus that you're going to be practicing and testing on: the pre-trip, and I feel like I'm forgetting something that's also with the pre-trip. Yeah, the pre-trip. The pre-trip, and the actual test that you have to run, like the air brake test, the tug test. So that still falls within pre-trip. So pre-trip, road test, and then maneuver test. And the order of the actual test is going to be pre-trip, then you do your maneuvers, and then road. And also, if you fail one, if you pass your pre-trip and then fail the maneuvers, you don't have to do the pre-trip again. So that's that. All right, so let me take you inside of a day at 160 Driving Academy. We would basically just get there in the morning, about 8 o'clock in the morning, and then we would wait for like an hour. And then we would have our designated instructor, and then we would go over there, and we just be with them for the rest of the day, just practicing, right? It's like very not complicated, at least where I went. And then on certain days, not every day, we would go and do our road test. But trust me, you'll get the road portion down pretty quickly. So the most important thing is going to be the maneuvers, because they're going to give you a packet to study for your pre-trip, so you're going to be able to get that on your own time. But the maneuvers is where you're going to struggle, maybe. But it's also like that's going to be the focal point. Like if you're not getting enough truck time, like I don't know if I said this already, my issue with 160 Driving Academy was you got to ask this to the recruiter as well, is like, what is the ratio of trucks to students? Because ours was like 15 students to one truck, and there was only 3 trucks. So there would be days, most of the days actually, we would go and I would only get like 20 minutes in the truck. And mind you, I'm pretty sure that like the national standard is, and I'm not trying to like throw them under the bus or anything, I'm just saying, I think the national standard is 160 hours minimum of, that's the prerequisite before you can get your CDL. You do the math, 20 minutes a day times 4 weeks, like it's not really, wasn't really substantial to what we needed. So it just kind of made getting backing down a little bit harder. But I would just ask that, see how many students they got, how many trucks they got. That's going to be a big part of it, because it's going to be frustrating if you kind of just walk in there unexpectedly and you're not really getting any time in the truck. So besides that, most of the instructors know what they're doing, because you have to have a lot of experience or decent experience. But also there's some situations like mine where the instructors, they were they've been driving for years upon years, but they were new to actually instructing. So it's a little bit different when you have to teach it. You got to kind of just find your teaching style, and taking these like complicated methods or whatever, and kind of breaking it down to new beginners. So they were going through the learning curve. The students were going through the learning curve. It just wasn't really the most optimal time to be there, is what I'm trying to say. But I'm trying to see if I'm forgetting anything else. I don't think so. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I would just say my suggestion is to ask a lot of questions to your recruiter. I'll throw them up on here, just everything that needs to be covered. But this is kind of the same thing with my last video with the mentorship program with Swift. Even more so, because if you're paying a $5,000 tuition, you're going to be going into their program, right? And it's going to kind of seem like you're the student, they're the teacher, what they say goes. It's not really the case, guys. You have to, like, if you need something, you got to ask, because you're paying your hard-earned money for this school, right? So like if they decide, like, for the last hour of the day that they're going to be shutting down early and everybody is just kind of getting ready to leave, but you feel like you're not where you need to be, you got a test next week, go up and ask, no, I need to get back in the truck, I need to practice more. They cannot say no. Like, just don't be intimidated. Like me, I wasn't the most outspoken guy, so I probably didn't even get what I needed. I definitely didn't. But that would be my suggestion. Like, you're paying money, so make sure you get what you need. And then because at the end of the day, the business side of these academies is kind of to push the students through. Like, the instructors may like care and try to give you the most attention as possible, but they're following under the same curriculum, so they're gonna try to push you through, they're gonna try to rush you through. If you fail, they're not losing any sleep overnight, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's really it. Just kind of quick little brief video. I'm trying to see if I forgot anything else. I don't think so. But yeah, if you guys got anything valuable out of the vid, any questions, just let me know below. And yeah, that's it, man. Just be careful, do your research, and you should be good.